If you look at what's going on at the moment in the economy, you're looking at gym memberships and they're going up. People are investing, getting away from maybe the entertainment, like drinking and all that sort of stuff, and reinvesting into more health and wellness aspects of their life and making sure they're getting a membership, making sure that they're recovering the right way through in sport, all that sort of stuff. What can you talk to, for someone, might be considering, investing into, say, a Snap Fitness gym? What would they get excited about and what can they expect?
I look at it, I mean, at the end of the day, you've got to look at both macro and micro trends, right? Yeah. So let's look at the macro trend. The macro trend, the wellness space is worth $6.5 trillion globally. It's growing at like 10% year on year, well ahead of any GDP, right? And what's driving that? Well, part of it's the consumer at the end of the day. There's a cultural difference between today's consumer versus 20 years ago.
Yeah.
And that drinking culture has really gone out the window,
Yep.
driven by some of the other macro kind of trends of just inflation, the cost of going to the pub for a drink or whatever else it is, right? And so some of those things are being driven. I then look at what are some of the micro trends, and I think in our industry, that cultural difference of what's driving that is really important to understand. And just the current generation are much more focused on that.
Yeah.
They don't want to be going to the pub and drinking as much. I mean, there's still a bit of that, but it's important to them.
Mate,
To be
I heard
healthy and fit. And
another CEO. They had said that we used to get home at 6 a.m. from the nightclubs and stumbling home looking for a cab or whatever it was before way before Ubers. And then their daughter happened to be running in a run club at 6 a.m.
Yep.
So when you look 20 years apart, getting home from a club, run club, it's pretty crazy.
Yeah, yeah, and a lot of people are using that for meeting people, whether it be their life partner or whether it be just a friend. I mean, it's a great way to meet people that are of the same sort of mindset.
And so all that going on, you're looking at a booming business. So people thinking about wanting to get into a business like Snap.
Yeah, and then I look at, well, what about the product that you're investing in, right? So the macro and the micro trends say that the health and wellness space is going to continue to boom for many years. Okay, tick. That's a massive tick because you want to make sure that that's going to be a key one. You don't want governments, switching gears. Look at electric cars at the moment, right? I mean, massive push a few years ago.
Yep.
And it's almost completely done a 180 now.
Yeah.
And potentially, it's not even going to be the right space moving forward. And so I look at it and go, well, could anything change in our space? Well, no. You look at the cost for any government globally and just diabetes, for example.
Yeah.
That's only one of so many different ailments that come from being unhealthy and overweight, right?
Yep.
And so I look at that as being number one key point. It's absolutely going to continue to trend for many years and driven by governments really want to make sure that they're within their budgets. Health and wellness is in a good space. I think then you look at the product you're going to invest in. Okay. What's the performance of that product?
Yeah.
What's the return on my capital that I'm going to invest? Am I going to get that capital back in some way, shape, or form, either through cash flow within the business or at some stage being able to sell that asset? Right. And they're the two pieces. And so for us, I would say as a franchisee, have a look at both of those things. Have a look at the performance financially of our clubs. What's that returning to our franchisees? And unfortunately, we can't just hand you a P&L. It's not allowed within the franchising code here in Australia.
Yeah.
But you can certainly talk to our franchisees, right? We'll provide you a bit of information. We'll give you links to franchisees. Go have a conversation with them.
Yeah.
But then you also have a look at how our clubs are trading. And we're seeing our clubs trade for higher multiples than they've ever traded for, which is tremendous. There's obviously real interest to invest in this space today. And then I think the third piece is what's driving that? Yes, the macro and micro trends are driving that. There's a lot of interest. Our clubs are performing well, but we also support our franchisees in, I would say, some ways better than anyone else in the marketplace. And that's part driven by one, we own, so Lift Brands directly own these regions. We own Australia, we own New Zealand, we own the UK, we own Ireland, we own the US, Canada, the UAE, etc. And so we don't have a middleman. We don't have a master franchisee who's clipping the ticket in between. We directly support. We've got a team of 40 odd in the Brisbane office that support you as a franchisee locally. Whatever you need, whether it be marketing, the right systems through digital stack and 2 taps with our website and so on. That's why we've continued to partner with you guys, because you're so laser focused on supporting the franchisee.
Yeah.
And so for me, I think it's critical that we support our franchisees. And I've talked about it before. You asked the question about, listening to franchisees. Where do those ideas come from? For us, We have a tremendous franchise advisory council in each of
Mhm.
the regions made up of key franchisees that are voted in by their peers.
Mm.
It's not even that we put together. So, you're represented really well by those franchisees. They come and agitate and advocate for a whole range of things on behalf of the franchisees, and
Mm.
those ideas flow through. And then that flows through into our global franchise advisory council. So we
Nice.
have a wonderful structure of, I guess, performance, support for our franchisees, and really listening and making sure that our franchisees have a voice. And like when someone has a buy-in to what they're doing, they tend to work harder and be more involved, have more ownership over it, and that's really critical for us and the type of franchisee we have.